What's going on, guys? This is Gainz Gaming. Today we have some super exciting news about the new commanders coming into Rise of Kingdoms. We do have some leaks that are brought to us by Asbonian. I will be linking his Discord in the description below so you guys can go ahead and join that. He has tons of information on Rise of Kingdoms. Very detailed Discord page that you are able to join and get lots of information on Rise of Kingdoms. So make sure you guys join that down below in the description. But today we are going to be talking about the two new commanders, Tarik and Sargon. And so these are the new commanders that would be coming into Rise of Kingdoms, most likely in mid-December. So we are going to be getting a brief rundown about their skills and what those skills entail. We will also be talking about whether or not they're going to be good for the game and whether or not you should be investing in them. And then finally, what pairs I think will be good options for these commanders as well, both in the open field and for rallies. First of all, we want to talk about Tarik. So this is the Mightiest Governor commander. This will also be the commander that will be used for infantry rallies. This is what I was talking about when I released my video about Pakal and potentially him coming back into the game. And I still think that he might be a viable option for this commander in the rallying part of the game, either him or Harold. So we will talk briefly about Tarik here. So this is Tarik. He has infantry, conquering, and defense tree. His first skill here is victory or death. You can see here his active skill rage requirement 1000, which is pretty average. And his skill is that he will deal direct damage to a target, damage factor 2200. If this commander's troop is surrounded, the skill deals extra damage to the target, damage factor 300. So you got some anti-swarm technology already. So like I said, I think this will pair very well for commanders such as Harold and Pakal in rallying, and potentially even in the open field as well. His next skill is Bane of Visigoths, and this is a passive skill. Infantry units led by this commander gain 40% increased attack and deal up to 10% more damage to calves. And that is absolutely insane, especially in rallying, because this will absolutely destroy Janjiska and the cavalry garrison that has actually been performing very well against infantry. And then infantry will also gain 10% increased march speed outside of Alliance territory. Also very good. This would be great for things such as ruins if you are using him in the open field, allowing you to get away and get toward your enemy a little bit faster. So great march speed for infantry, 10% more damage to calves, which are obviously the meta right now in Rise of Kingdoms, and then 40% attack is absolutely insane as well. So very good passive skill here on Tarik. And then his next skill is Assault. This is a passive skill. So when attacking cities or strongholds, infantry units led by this commander gets a 30% increase in defense, and then each normal attack has a 30% chance to reduce the target's attack by 30% for the next 3 seconds. This can trigger once every 8 seconds. That is insane. 30% reduced attack for 3 seconds in a rally is insane. You can see here, this is the rallying commander. 30% increased defense when rallying, which is very high. So very good skill here for rallying. He is looking absolutely insane so far for infantry. And then his next skill is also passive. That is Battle of the Guadalite. I believe that's how you say that. That is a passive skill. Troops led by this commander deal 15% more damage and have a 10% chance to reduce the target's rage by 80 for 3 seconds. This event can trigger once every 8 seconds. Holy crap, 15% more damage. I believe that's all damage as well. And so pair that with his active skill of 2200 damage factor plus an extra 300 damage factor if he's surrounded. That is insane. You do not want to be taking a rally from this commander. Pairing him with Pakal, like I said, I think this will be very good because he has the damage that Pakal lacks. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the end of the video. And then finally, his expertise deals direct damage to target, damage factor 2500. So this increases his damage factor by 300. And then if this commander's troops are surrounded, this skill deals additional damage to the target, damage multiplier 300 times the number of enemies, maximum up to 900. And so that means that if you're surrounding him, it will be dealing additional damage to those that are surrounding him. So even more damage factor when he's expertise. So it sounds like you really want to make sure he's expertise if you are rallying with him. That way he has even more anti-swarm technology as well, making it really hurt if you decide to swarm this guy. So I think that this will be an amazing rally for infantry. I still don't think it's going to be good enough to be able to beat every garrison, especially against infantry, because like we see up here, we do have a 10% increase damage to cavalry. So I think this will be very good against Janjiska and every other cavalry garrison. But against the meta garrison that right now is obviously still Xeno YSS or Xeno Flav or Flav Scipio, all these different garrisons, I still think we'll be able to beat this rally pretty easily just because it's only increasing your damage here against cavalry. However, we do have that increased 15% of all damage here and the rage reduction for his passive skill right here. So all in all, I think that this commander will be very good for infantry for rallying specifically, not as good in the open field. He does have some stuff in open field in his kit, so I think he will still be usable, but obviously this skill right here, Assault, will only be usable when he is attacking cities or strongholds, so he will only have 4 of his 5 skills be attributing to the open field. So like I said, he can still be used in the open field, but I don't think he's going to be as good in the open field as he is in rallying. So next here we got Sargon. So this will be found on the wheel, and Sargon is going to be the one that looks kind of like Gilgamesh, and then Tarik is the one that looks like Saladin, just so you guys know. So Sargon right here, he is an infantry versatility and skill. He'll be found on the Wheel of Fortune. So his first skill here, Sar Kazatim, active skill, rage requirement 1000 once again. And then for the next 5 seconds, normal attacks have up to a 100% chance to deal direct damage to the target, 500 damage factor. So this is very, very underwhelming in my opinion, because I am not a huge fan of damage over time, because a lot of the times when people are fighting in the open field, you are not staying and attacking one person for a long period of time. If you get a hold of somebody, they're probably going to start retreating, and this skill isn't going to have as much of a use. So this is up to 2500 damage factor, which is obviously great, but that's over a 5-second time interval. So if you only hit them for 2 seconds, you're only going to get 1000 damage factor. Whereas if you have a skill that's going to do 2000 damage factor at once, that's a much better bang for your buck, because you got the 2000 immediately. You didn't have to wait 5 seconds for that skill damage to add up. And so this isn't going to be as beneficial just because you are having to wait 5 seconds for your active skill to take full effect and get that full 2500 damage factor that you are expecting to get from this active skill. Pretty underwhelming active skill in my opinion. His next skill here, Standing Army. This is a passive skill. Infantry led by this commander gain 10% increased attack and 20% increased health, both very good. When attacking, this commander's troop has a 100% chance to inflict a stack of Amazed effect on the target troop, increasing their skill damage taken by 3% for 10 seconds, maximum of 10 stacks. So it looks like you can increase your skill damage taken by up to 30%, which is insane. And if this is fully maxed out, it looks like every single attack is going to increase your skill damage taken by 3%. And so maximum 10 stacks, once again, 30% increased skill damage if you are able to stay attacking this enemy, because when you fully get this skill maxed out, your probability goes to 100%. So this skill is very, very good. You get 20% health, 10% attack, both great, and then 100% chance of inflicting that skill damage taken by 3%. So great passive skill here for Sargon. I think this is very beneficial, especially if you're able to continue to attack this person. And even if you're able to attack one person and then go on to another person, you are going to be able to inflict skill damage taken on multiple different troops in the field. So I think this is a great skill. Next skill we got here is Conqueror of Sumer. This is a passive skill. Infantry units led by this commander gain 15% increased march speed. They also deal 10% more damage to attacking troops. So I believe when someone is attacking you, you will deal 10% more damage to that troop. And then normal attacks have a 10% chance to increase the total damage dealt by the commander's troops by 30% for 3 seconds. This effect can trigger once every 8 seconds. So we got infantry march speed, which obviously infantry needs desperately. Infantry damage bonus, which is amazing. Increase the damage when you are being attacked, so anti-swarm. And then damage bonus of 30% for 3 seconds is also very, very good. So very tanky, be able to get in and out of battle. He punishes you for hitting him, so more anti-swarm. And as you can see here, the Standing Army does not say this effect can trigger once every 8 seconds. So that means that if you have this one maxed out, every single time you are attacking somebody, when you are attacking, this commander's troop has 100% chance of increasing their skill damage taken by 3% up to 30%. So we can see why this one is so powerful, is anytime you're attacking somebody, you are making them take more skill damage, And then when you are being attacked, you are increasing your all damage by 10%, and you have the chance to increase your damage by another 30%. So this is looking to be very, very good for infantry. Anti-swarm, you are really not going to want to get hit by this guy or swarm this guy whatsoever. You really want to just stay as far away as you can from this guy, because he is going to make you suffer if you decide to hit against him. So we'll talk about this next one here. Anu's Fury. Passive skill increases the defense of the infantry units by 10% while on the battlefield. So that is not in a garrison. I don't believe that's in a rally, but that is only on the field. When a targeted troop has received 10 stacks of the amazed effect, all stacks are removed and the targeted troop suffers damage up to 500. In addition, the troop of this commander receives a shield that lasts 5 seconds, protection factor 300. And then it looks like this goes up to 1000 damage factor when it receives that 10 stacks. So it looks like that's going to be 10 seconds of battle, because it's going to be about 1 second per attack. And so one thing you can actually do in this commander's case is you can leave him at 5550. Don't even unlock the last skill. You will continue to keep this 30% skill damage taken for 10 seconds if you decide not to get Anu's Fury, because you can see right here, once the targeted troop has received 10 stacks, which is at 30%, all stacks are removed and the targeted troop suffers damage. So if you want to keep the debuff on, you can actually avoid increasing his skill level to 5551 or 5555 or expertise, and you can just leave Anu's Fury on not even unlocked, keep that 30% skill damage taken on that troop. So that's one thing to consider. We'll take a look at the expertise to see if that would be worth it. So this reduces skill damage taken by this troop by 15%. When his troop is hit by a normal attack, he has a 50% chance of inflicting 2 stacks of the amazed effect on an enemy target. I believe this is the enemy that is hitting you. If the skill is triggered when the commander's troop gets a shield, it inflicts 1 additional stack of wonder. This skill can trigger once every 8 seconds. So, in my opinion, I believe that the best way to handle this commander in general is to start to get him 5550. And then once you're ready to expertise him, if you have the heads to do so, then I think it is worth it to increase him to expertise. But if you only have the heads to keep him 5551, I believe that it is worth it to not even unlock this until you can get 3 or 4 skills into this Anu's Fury and get closer to that expertise. Just because this 2% infantry defense and 4% infantry defense is not that great, that 500 or 600 damage factor, you're probably going to get more damage factor just by that extra skill damage than you are from this direct damage factor. And then same with the shield, 150, 180 shield is not a whole lot. When you get up to that 300 and then 1000 damage factor and 10% defense, then that makes it more worth it. Plus then you get that expertise as well. So I think for Sargon here, you're going to want to keep him 5550 until you are ready to expertise him, and then put those extra skills onto his last skill in order to get the full ability from that second passive skill, Standing Army, for that increased 30% skill damage taken from your troops. So I just want to hop in game here and kind of talk about what commanders I think would be good fits for these two commanders. And so I'm going to hop into here. So I think that one commander that will be revitalized in this new update as well, when we see the new museum buffs, is going to be Alexander the Great. I think he will get a very good museum buff. I talked about this in my last video as well, kind of about how I think Alexander the Great needs a revitalization in Rise of Kingdoms. He is still usable. I still use him personally, but I don't think he's strong enough if you have other options available. Obviously, with Season of Conquest, there are much stronger commanders in the game. And so commanders like Alexander the Great, Khan, Saladin, those commanders are just too old to be useful in Season of Conquest. So getting those museum buffs will go a very long way for these commanders. I think that Alexander the Great would be a pretty good fit with Sargon for the open field. Having that extra shield as well makes it a little bit better for not having him expertise, because you will still be getting that shield from Alexander the Great. Similar to Scipio Prime, getting that shield from Scipio will also be good for using that with Sargon. And once again, Sargon is the commander that looks like Gilgamesh. I'll pop him up right here. So we can see this is Sargon. So this is the open field commander, and this is Tarik, who is the rallying commander. So just to keep you guys remembering what those commanders are. So once again, for the open field, I believe that that Sargon will be a pretty good fit for Scipio. I believe he'll be a good fit with Alexander the Great, depending on what he'll be getting in the museum buff. I think he'll be a good fit with Harold as well. I think Harold will also be usable with this commander, especially with the tankiness that commander brings and the anti-swarm. Similar to Pakal, I think this is another commander that you can most likely use in ruins and stuff like that in order to kind of make them pay for hitting you, and you're able to stay in the field a lot longer. Plus he has a little bit of that damage as well. So if you hold on to somebody, you're taking very little damage because of how tanky you are. Plus you are punishing them with that extra skill damage as well, because you're most likely staying on them for a long period of time. So they're racking up that skill damage, and if you keep Sargon at 5550, he will continue to put that 30% skill damage taken on that enemy as well. So Pakal and Harold, I think, will be usable with Sargon. Similarly, I think that Martel will most likely be usable with Sargon as well. I don't think this will be as optimal as using Scipio. I do think that Scipio will most likely be one of the best fits with him, just because neither of the new commanders will have AoE. Scipio provides that AoE similar to Guan as well. You could also use a Guan primary and a Sargon secondary, or you could use Scipio primary and Sargon secondary as well. I think those are pretty good options for that commander. And then for Tarik, who again is the rallying commander, I think that some commanders that will be good for him, I think it's very limited because obviously infantry is not really a rallying troop type, but obviously I think Pakal and Harold are going to be the two options for this new commander Tarik because of the tankiness. And once again, like I said before, I think that Tarik provides the damage that Pakal is lacking, because obviously Pakal does not have a lot of damage. He has 1300 direct damage factor and he shields himself. And so I think that the damage that you get from Tarik, 2500 damage factor plus damage over time, will go a very long way using him with Pakal and allow you to inflict a lot more damage and stay in the rally a lot longer, because typically Pakal is used as a tanking rally and then you follow it up with a second rally. I think that will still most likely be the way to go for this, but I think that will inflict a lot more damage and put a lot more pressure on the garrison with a much tankier rally than Pakal Harold, because obviously Harold does have some damage factor, but he only has 1200 damage and 20% damage bonus, whereas Tarik has 2500 damage factor when expertise, plus extra damage, 500 extra damage if he is surrounded. He increases the damage against cabs, increases the attack by 40%. March speed isn't as useful for rallies, but then once again, for rallying, he does have a 30% infantry defense, and he reduces normal attack damage by 30%. And then finally, we see this last passive skill, 15% additional damage and a rage reduction as well, which will be very, very strong in a rally situation. So in all, I think that these two commanders are somewhat underwhelming compared to Scipio Prime, Boudica Prime, Joan Prime, these new commanders, Nevsky that we got in the game. I do think that they are not going to be as good as these other commanders, but I do think that they will be better than the commanders that we have available, such as Leo, Pakal, Alexander the Great, Martel, Richard, all these commanders that are a lot older that just aren't as useful in Rise of Kingdoms anymore. I think that these two commanders will be better than them, but I don't think they're going to be on the same level as Nevsky or any of the other prime commanders that we've gotten in the game, which is unfortunate because we did hear that these commanders were going to be on par or even better than those commanders. But looking at the skills that we have seen here, I do not think that they're going to be as good as those commanders. We will have to see with the testing when they do come into the game. I'll be very interested to see how they perform with different pairings, and I am prepared to spin the wheel for Sargon as well, and hopefully get some heads for Tarik in the Mightiest Governor. So stay tuned for that. We will hopefully be able to do some testing, or at least watch some testing. So stay tuned for those videos and those future live streams. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about these two new commanders. Which one you think is going to be better? What different pairings you think that are going to be working the best? And once again, I want to give a huge shout out to Asbonian, who is the creator of this Discord page and has his own Discord page as well as Bonian. And so I will be linking both of those down below in the comments. So make sure you guys join that and give a huge thank you to Asbonian. Thank you guys for checking out the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.